Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel name Anita K. Thank you so much for the people who have subscribed. Oh my goodness, little old me, I am at 13,509 subscribers. This is what my app is telling me. And this is making me do a little happy dance. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm still reeling a little bit from all the debate stuff that I don't think I focused on what was being said in the English debate that much. I know that Blanchette really nailed Carney. Like he came prepared. He came with his game on. And I almost have to go back and rewatch it because I was so appalled at the behavior of CBC and Rosemary Barton, what's her name? Barton and Adrian Arse, and the David Cochran or whatever. And today I watched a little bit of footage from Rebel News of Ezra going up to them in a break. They were in a break and they were so rude to him. If you get a chance to watch that video, you should watch. And just the way they treated Drea, the way they called the police, and the way all the police were standing outside the Liberal bus. I did a video about it. I'll put it in the description. It was like, oh my God. It's like war. It's like waging war when really, as journalists, you should just be chill and cool and not be so insecure if other people are in the playground. There's enough room for everybody. You don't have to monopolize everything. Another thing that I put in that last video also was Scott Reed and Corey tonight going on this. Well, it was Scott Reed that was doing most of the swearing, just going on this tirade, criticizing the fact that alternative media got into the press conference. And I said, shame on Vashi Kapelos if they put them on CTV's Power Play. And what happened on Sunday? It's Monday today. Lo and behold, those two losers at least were on Vashi Kapelos's show. Shame on you, CTV. And can you imagine if it had been someone from alternative media swearing on a podcast and acting like that? What the backlash would be, how they'd run that over and over again on a loop in the news. But it's okay when one of yours does it. I'm so disgusted with the mainstream media. I could just spit, but I know that that's not ladylike. Anyway, here's another thing. I was so surprised to see this Gordon Campbell, because I live in BC. He was our premier for many years. Gordon Campbell, premier from 2001 to 2011 in BC, and he was the leader of the BC Liberal Party from 1993 to 2011. And there he was, schooling Rosie Barton. This guy is a conservative now. He wrote an op-ed. Let me just show that to you first before I show you what he said to Rosie. He wrote this this is published April 15th. Gordon Campbell, The End of Magical Thinking. Canada, let's get real. And he laid it all out here in this article. He said a pragmatist would never have supported, as Carney did, the liberal energy policies that continued our reliance on the US. A pragmatist would not have said no to the Northern Gateway pipeline and would not retain Bill C-69 with its impossible Impact Assessment Act, a true straight jacket to Canadian prosperity. Okay, telling it like it is. Let's watch him give it to Rosemary. I mean, so to speak, right?
Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Donald Trump through this election campaign. Why are you telling Canadians to think about this election differently?
Because I think when we're only talking about Donald Trump, we're talking about fear. It seems to me that Canada has all the tools we need to build the kind of future that we want. And we should remember how strong we are, that we can be independent. I think, unfortunately, over the last 10 years, we've been weakened. We're not as resilient as we were. We're more dependent on the United States now than we were when the Federal Liberal Party was elected. And it's time for us to recognize this is an important decision for us. It's an important decision for the next generation of Canadians. And one of the things that I'm concerned about is it feels to me like the next generation has been left behind. They're forgotten. My grandkids have been forgotten. We're watching as deficits are building up. We have all the resources we need, but we have to liberate them. We have to put them to use. We can't play the uncertainty game. People have to know that Canada is here to get things done, and we can do them. Canadians should remember how strong Canada is as a country. We don't have to be, moved around by Donald Trump's whims. We have to, commit to ourselves and where we can go as a country.
If Carney and them didn't have the fear of Donald Trump, what do they have? What do they have? You take out Donald Trump out of the equation, and what do you have? Seriously.
You also bring up is pipelines, which obviously has been part of the election campaign. Promises on
Right.
all sides to develop them. You write that.
Do you drive a car, Rosie, or do you Fred Flintstone yourself around? I mean, you drive a car, don't you? You have hot showers. You sit on planes. We use oil and gas. I don't know what you want.
Building pipelines is pragmatic. Not to build them is wrong. Both Pierre Poilievre and Mark Carney have said
Right.
they're ready to build more pipelines. But I understand people may have different views about who's going to actually get it done. But do you think that pipelines should be a central focus of the ballot box question, at least maybe for Western Canada? Or give me your views on why you think that's such an important issue.
I think it's a really good question because I think it's for all of Canada, not just for Western Canada.
Right.
You know, it's like going into an international hockey game and saying, we're going to leave Connor McDavid and Mitch Marner and Nate McKinnon on the sidelines because we don't really need all of our tools. We need to use the best of what we've got. We have exceptional energy resources. The Liberals stopped the Northern Gateway pipeline. That was wrong. And it was done after a process. So the uncertainty that has been created, and Mr. Carney continues this uncertainty. He says one thing in British Columbia, another thing in Quebec. We're told there's a national emergency. Then we're told, well, maybe not so much when it comes to pipelines. We need to have those pipelines to build the economic future for this country.
You of course, know, though, that the Liberal government was the government that bought a pipeline.
Yeah, I know they're the government that bought a pipeline, and I know they're also a government that stopped a pipeline after it had gone through all the process and was ready for approval. Right. So when we're told that, you know, we're worried about our economy, I can tell you one of the things that undermines every economy is uncertainty.
Well, I can link that video so you can watch it for yourself. I would recommend watching it. She sounds kind of agreeable. She tried to be a little bit oppositional there, where she's like, well, the Liberals bought a pipeline, and he's like, yeah, and they stopped a pipeline too. I saw this really interesting article that I want to share a little bit. Don't be fooled again why the Trudeau government's talk of West-East oil pipelines in Canada rings hollow. It's written by Gwyn Morgan, February 23rd of this year. Throughout the Justin Trudeau era, Ottawa has stymied pipelines to both the east and west coasts, forcing Canada's crude oil producers to sell essentially all of the nation's exported oil to U.S. refiners at huge captive market discounts. In 2010, Enbridge Inc., Canada's largest oil pipeline operator, filed a regulatory application for the Northern Gateway pipeline from Alberta to Kitimat. This innovative project would have carried 525,000 barrels per day, right? And he goes on to talk about how people were looking forward to it, but this, you know, had the brakes pumped. And Northern Gateway, that was canceled. He lays out the history of why that happened. And he asks, why does Canada import oil from Saudi Arabia, Algeria, and Angola? Good bloody question. Outrageously, this superb project, it's called Energy East, was canceled in 2017 for political reasons after Quebec's government vowed to block Alberta's dirty oil, as Premier Francois Legault termed it. Trudeau showed no stomach for doing the right thing and taking on his home province's unconstitutional threats. So there we go. We just shoot ourselves in the foot. And I thought that Gordon Campbell used a great analogy of, you got a hockey team, you don't send out your best players. We've got all this oil and all these resources, and for my entire lifetime, we've acted like we've had nothing. We acted like we're not sitting on a gold mine, and mining is another industry that they hamstring. I can only imagine, you're not stupid, right? The government isn't stupid. I can only the only logic I can think of this is they don't want us to succeed. I don't think they're paralyzed by what people think. I don't think they give a crap what we think. They tell you to inject yourself, and if you don't like it, they'll take all your money away, not give you EI, and so you won't be able to pay your mortgage. And it doesn't matter if you have allergies or whatever you have. There's no exemptions. They don't care what you think. They don't care about you. They'll maid you if you're upset about it. So I don't think they care about all the political stuff. They're doing, I think, what they're told by whoever is holding the puppet strings. And whoever that is, I think, wants the erosion of the middle class. So we're bankrupt as a country, and maybe Carney's come in to bankrupt us. I don't know. I think so. Also, Gordon Campbell's brother, Michael Campbell, Every week he used to go on the early news and I used to talk in his ear and I'd be like, okay, 2 minutes away, Michael. And he was always like super nice and he'd do a very lively hit on the early news. And he was always on Global and BCTV. He used to have a show called Money Talks and he has a podcast now, actually. Maybe I'll play you a little clip if you're interested in this.
Let me ask you a key question. What do the following have in common? The explosion in government debt and record interest payments, the highest unemployment rate since 2017, if you take out the pandemic, the rise in anti-Semitism and the increasing negative sentiments toward immigration. How about the crisis in affordable housing, affordable rents? What about over 5 million Canadians without a family doctor or record wait times to see a specialist? And the abysmal efficiency ranking of Canada's ports. You got Prince Rupert ranked 399th, Vancouver 356th, Montreal 348 out of 405. Well, the answer is straightforward. Government policy and actions have played a significant role in each of them, which brings me to the key aspect to understand if you are going to protect yourself, protect your family and their financial future, you've got to disabuse yourself of the notion that government's going to rescue you.
I mean, I never heard him say stuff like that on Global News ever. That's calling the government out, but also, promoting his business and what he does too. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. That's how the world is making money now, is promoting things that you believe in. People have sponsors. Actually, I have a gold sponsor, New World Precious Metals. Okay. The link is in the description. And I don't think there's any shame in that game. Everybody has to now make a living and be self-funded, right? So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I think Gordon Campbell probably and Michael Campbell, they're intelligent, despite whatever flaws you might think that they have. They're talking some sense now.
You don't, in your op-ed, Mr. Campbell, endorse Pierre Poilievre. You don't mention him at all, actually. But I would imagine that is your choice, is it? Why did you not mention him in your op-ed, or are you still thinking about where your support should go?
No, I'm not thinking about where my support should go. I think we should hold governments to account.
Yeah.
The Liberal decade was a dismal decade for Canada. Their immigration policies hurt every one of our cities. They made our housing problem worse. They made our healthcare problem worse. They made our educational problems worse. We have to hold governments to account. One person does not a government make. I wouldn't count on the federal government delivering and executing a program anytime, as long as it's the same group that's been there the last 10 years. They've been incompetent and they've led us down the wrong road.
Wow. That's pretty major. That is pretty major for somebody who's been a Liberal for the majority of his career to come out and say, I've made my decision. If you stick with the same people that we've had for the past 10 years, we're going down the wrong road. And he's saying that right to the face of Rosemary Barton, the ultimate Liberal cheerleader, the ultimate bootlicker, brown noser to that Liberal Party, because she knows that's the end of her big salary. You can get a sponsor, you can sell subscriptions, you can make money like the rest of us, Rosemary, but you cannot have our tax money anymore. And I can't wait to see you guys defunded. And Christy Clark is still living in La La Land. She's still a huge Liberal supporter. It's like, girl, you got to wake up and smell the coffee. This is you're on the wrong team. You're on the wrong team, girl. Okay. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I was going to talk about the boomer who had the 2 middle fingers up and how, gosh, how almost terrifying that is, because I think a guy like that actually believes his own bull. He's a CBC watcher, a global news watcher, a CTV watcher, and he really thinks that all of us are anti-science, conspiracy theorists, don't like gay people, don't think, are against people who want to, I don't know, I was going to say change their gender. We kind of are against minors changing their gender, and I don't have anything wrong with that. I don't think anything's wrong with that. But he kind of thinks that we're all these awful bigots. And I think that's really what he thinks. And that's why he's grandpa with the 2 middle fingers up, And it's a sad thing, and people like him scare me. But people like him are everywhere because they believe, they watch the news and they Netflix. They come home, they cook dinner, they turn on the news. Everybody's like this. listen to what they listen to. It gets in their head very subtly, just like the same way you listen to morning radio. What the hosts are saying as they're chit-chatting is still getting in your head, because they are also, morning radio are told to propagandize. They by default propagandize also, and it's getting in your head and getting in your head. And then when the news is done, you watch Netflix. And that's why we have a nation of ignorant middle-aged people who will put middle fingers up at you. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you liked it. Are you surprised that Gordon Campbell said this? I feel that this is quite major for a liberal, a guy who's been a lifelong liberal, to say, I am done with you. It's like a Kennedy saying, I am done with my party. I don't recognize you guys are whacked, right? Okay, thanks for watching this video. Please like it if you liked it. I'll catch you in the next one. We'll talk to you soon.